Well, I wanted a competitive game. Like, I honestly didn't expect the Bulls to win this game against the defending champs, but I wanted it to at least be a game that I could get excited about and seeing them go toe-to-toe with the Warriors. And I got that. Most of you probably know I was at the game last night, and in recent years when I've gone to see the Warriors play against the Bulls, it has been pretty bad. In fact, the Bulls have gotten blown out more often than not in those games. That even includes when the Warriors were one of the worst teams in the league when they were without Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But last night, the Bulls actually made it a fun game down the stretch. They actually remained in the game throughout the first half. And just when you thought, okay, this is going to be yet again another blowout, the Bulls scratched and clawed their way back into the game. And they actually played really tough defense down the stretch. Despite the Warriors' incredible ball movement and smooth-paced offense, Caruso was all over Steph down the stretch. And really, for the most part, Steph had a pretty mediocre game for him. I mean, for Steph Curry, that's still a decent game. He scored 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, but he went 6 for 16 from the field. The Bulls weren't giving him any easy looks, and the same went for Klay Thompson, at least from three-point range anyway. When the Bulls failed, though, is they failed to guard Jordan Poole, and he's actually what really blew the game up and taking that big lead, who's really been an inconsistent player all season long and not living up to that big contract extension that he just got. Decides to go 7 for 13 against the Bulls, though, from 3 and put up 30 points. But look, the fact that the Bulls were able to push their way back into this game after being down 19 in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, I believe they were down 14 to start it, and they quickly came back, bringing it all the way down to one possession with about 5 minutes left. When Javonte Green stole that ball and took it down the court with that and one, I lost it, screaming at the top of my lungs, while all the Warriors fans around me were just staring in annoyance. I didn't care. I was hyped to see the Bulls coming back in that game, and honestly, had they just executed a little better down the stretch, they might have been able to pull out a W. The Bulls actually cut the lead to 1 with a Zach 3, I believe, about a minute and a half to go, and then Draymond Green of all people came down on the other end and sank a 3, which really for the most part was the dagger. I mean, the Bulls could have come back from that had they countered with another 3 of their own. You had Vucevic putting up a 3, didn't go in, same with Dragic. Just wasn't meant to be. Dragic actually had a really good game, by the way. He really was the glue that brought the Bulls back into this one. Towards the end, hitting some big threes, making some strong plays to the basket, finding the open man, cutting to the basket. He finished the game with 14 points on 6 for 11 shooting, 4 rebounds and 5 assists. And, one thing I'll say, Billy Donovan, went with Dragic down the stretch to close out the game, which was the right call as the Bulls really needed a veteran leader out there. For the critiques I usually give Billy Donovan, he actually was pulling out all the stops last night. First, making that change to the starting lineup, which I know some will say, did that really help? Was that really that big of a difference? Yes, it really was. And actually, when you look at Javonte's impact on the court on both ends of the floor, he had a very efficient game, putting up 13 points on 5 for 7 shooting and a plus 11, which was a team high. And then from Caruso's perspective, he was the main reason why Curry struggled to get any easy looks and really limited him as much as possible when he could, when he was on the court. And really from Patrick and Ayo's perspective, who have really tapered off in recent games in the starting lineup, they actually came in playing well off the bench. Well, Ayo did, not so much Patrick, although his defense was decent. Ayo made some really nice athletic drives to the basket, finished the game with 9 points on 4 for 4 shooting, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. But anyway, I like the change to the starting lineup. Billy was pulling out all the stops and bringing in Derrick Jones Jr. when the Warriors were going small without Looney in the fourth quarter. DJJ came in and had some really good minutes in helping that rally in the fourth. Zach actually had a decent game, although he's still not the same Zach. Like, it's abundantly clear he's still not finishing at the rim like we're used to seeing. His shooting isn't as efficient, and man, that decision making, still suspect. But the guy who really didn't have a good game was DeMar DeRozan. Closed out the game decently well in the second half and was part of that push and getting the Bulls back into it, but he really struggled with his shot. Didn't have a single field goal in the first half. Give the Warriors a lot of credit. I mean, these teams come in with a game plan when they go up against the Bulls in just hounding DeRozan. It was like that with the Raptors as well. Make the other guys score. Don't let DeMar get his shots up. And that was the case in this game, in which DeMar went 4 for 15 from the field, still got 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. I mean, it was good that he stepped up in other areas to be impactful with his playmaking, but the Warriors really limited DeRozan, and that's what got the best of the Bulls. I was happy that the Bulls utilized Vucevic much more in this game, This was a game in which you really need to take advantage of the mismatches down low on Vucevic. Looney is not going to be able to defend Vuce in the post. Draymond was on Vuce. You had Vuce posting up against Clay, and for the most part, it worked, right? Vucevic had the best game for the Bulls last night. Missed a lot of key threes that really would have pulled the Bulls ahead in the clutch, but he finished the game with 23 points, 11 rebounds, 9 for 17 from the floor. He also had 3 steals. Need to see more games like this in which Vucevic is being fed down low. As Stacey King would say, it's a simple game. And when you have a big like Vuce who can outwork most guys in the league down low, you use that to your advantage. I know DeMar and Zach are the primary scorers and ball handlers, but you have to use your big man in these types of games where the opposing team doesn't have as big of a presence down low. Also, the Bulls really forced 19 turnovers to the Warriors. It's funny because when you're at the game and not really paying attention to the stats, you don't really notice these things as closely. It did seem like the Warriors were committing a lot of turnovers, but that also seemed true for the Bulls, but somehow they only had 12 turnovers. Also, I don't know what was going on with the Bulls free throw shooting, especially in the early going. Bulls missed 8 free throws for the entire game. That could have been the difference maker in the game had they just made all their shots from the line. But anyway, I still had a great time regardless of the loss, much better than some of the games in which the Bulls have gotten absolutely destroyed. It was also great meeting some of you last night who were at the game. Appreciate you reaching out and meeting up with me. I also had a chance to meet with both Casey Johnson and Sam Smith in person. We got to talk about the Bulls for a bit, which, by the way, Casey said the rumors surrounding the Lakers wanting DeMar and Vucevic for those first round picks in Westbrook, he said likely doesn't have any credence to it outside of the Lakers just doing their job and seeing who's available and what's going to make their team better. They're supposed to do that, right? So take that for what it's worth. I still think there's no chance in hell the Bulls would ever agree to that trade, as that really sets them back quite a bit, but we'll see. I do still think the Bulls are going to make some kind of move prior to the trade deadline. I mean, they most have to at this point. The Bulls are 9-13 and sitting 12th in the East. Yes, it's still early. The Bulls have had one of the toughest schedules to date in the NBA, but yeah, we're getting in panic mode here with the way the season is playing out. Bulls really need a win tomorrow against the Kings in Sacramento before they head back home. I'll have a live chat back up for that game, so feel free to join if you'd like. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.